Dedication, determination, hard work. I believe that these three qualities are essential on the road to success. In order to achieve anything in life, one must stick to whatever it is they're doing, be motivated to work, and put in the amount of time and energy needed to achieve their goals. This philosophy has put me at where I am today, influencing the choices I make as well as the results that come from those decisions. Though the road to success may be filled with many ups and downs, including failures along the way, we must always learn from our mistakes in order to make the most out of them. As the great Vince Lombardi once said, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up. My name's Nihar, and this year I'm a senior in ISM 2. Last year I studied marketing management under the mentorship of the marketing director of innovation at Frito-Lay. And last year I realized I wanted to pursue a field in business, whether it was marketing or another field that surrounds the topic. And so this year, after doing some research, I decided to study financial analytics. Professionals in this field advise businesses before making any sort of strategic decision in the areas of marketing, HR, finance, and operations. I picked this topic of study because last year for my final product, I basically came up with an expansion plan for local business. And after doing some research over the summer, I found that the field of financial analytics is sort of what my final product was all about. And I found that I liked that part of marketing more than the rest. So I decided to study this field this year. And in addition, financial analysts look at how to make a company the most profitable, because at the end of the day, that's their number one goal. And finally, financial analysts also analyze trends to predict future outcomes. And a major misconception about financial analysts is all they do is like look at numbers in math, but really, it's not really about how you get those numbers, but it's what you choose to do with those numbers. So it's how you use those numbers to tell a story. And that's the part of this field that really appeals to me. So the first part of my research process this year in ISM, I conducted some interviews. And my first interview was with Mr. Ryan Snell, who is the VP of Finance at On the Border. And he actually recently just got this job, so he told me right off the bat he wouldn't be able to be my mentor this year. Because he was a mentor last year, he already knew what the ISM program was all about. And since he's the VP, he reports directly to the CFO, so he's in a really high position at On the Border. And one major point he stressed in our interview was that I should always follow your passion no matter whatever it is you're doing. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you'll be happy. My second interview was with Mr. Jeff Pearson, who is the Senior Director of Finance at JCPenney. Instantly, as soon as I walked in the room, I immediately felt a great connection with him. He was really nice, he was really kind, and you could tell just how much knowledge he had in this field. Mr. Pearson manages a team of 12 people who report directly to him, and they basically go through all of the analytics of JCPenney. And in our interview, he told me to always stay dedicated and work hard in whatever it is I do. And I liked Mr. Pearson so much that I asked him to be my mentor this year, and he said yes. My third interview was with Mr. Rex Cotton, who is a financial analyst at Alchemy Tech. All of my interviews, even last year and going into this year, have been with consumer goods companies, so basically goods that cater towards consumers and consumers consume. And so Alchemy Tech was my first technology company, and if you don't know, it's basically a software company for banks. So most banks use the software that Alchemy provides. And Mr. Cotton was actually a Frisco High graduate, and he actually had Coach Goff, so it was really cool to see how Frisco High graduates were succeeding in a professional working environment. And he told me that as an adult, you'll spend most of your lives with your colleagues, so you might as well like them or learn to like them. So he told me to form the best relationships I can with colleagues, because at the end of the day, you're going to be spending most of your time with them. My fourth interview was with Mr. Jim Hughes, who is the Divisional Vice President of Marketing Finance at JCPenney. And in his role, he manages all the financial aspects of the marketing department for JCPenney. And since I studied marketing last year, it was really cool to see how the fields of marketing and finance went hand in hand with each other and worked together in order to achieve a common goal. Mr. Hughes manages his own team of 6 people who work directly with the marketing department to manage their budget. And since he works in the finance department, he's responsible for managing the budget. And sometimes he's told me he often had to be the bearer of bad news. So like if the marketing team wanted to release an advertisement that cost a lot of money and he knew that it just wouldn't be smart to do so, he would have to shut down some operations that they had, and at times he looked like the bad guy. But at the end of the day, he was making the company more profitable, and that's what matters. And my last interview was with Mr. Cameron Larkin, who's the vice president at OneSource Virtual, and he got his MBA from Columbia. And he told me to also make relationships in the workplace, but for a different reason. Because as more and more people get promoted, those people are most likely those that everyone likes. So he said it's always good to invest in your colleagues. So going out to lunch or dinner or just hanging out with them outside the workplace, just so you form that relationship. And he told me to work hard while I'm young, because as you get older and start to get a family, you sort of put your work second. But he says when you're young, just right out of college, you'll have more of that time. So it's beneficial to put in as much work as you can then in order to reap the benefits later. And he told me in college to branch out and learn about whatever interests me. It doesn't have to be what my major's about, just whatever interests me to explore those fields, because college is one of your only chances to do so. And going on to my research assessments, I wanted to learn more about some of the colleges I was applying to. And the first school I researched is the McCombs School of Business at the University of Texas at Austin. McCombs is located in Austin, which is a great college town, so that's really cool about it. And it has a great honors program, so that's another plus. The second school I looked at is the Wharton School of Business at UPenn. This is the best undergraduate business school in the country, so it's really extremely competitive to get into. But if you graduate with a Wharton degree, you'll have that alumni network of thousands of individuals who are really smart and really innovative to connect with, and that'll help you work towards jobs. And Mr. Pearson actually is a Wharton alumni also, my mentor. And then the third school I looked at is the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. I was actually born in Michigan, so I have that home state connection. And Ann Arbor is also a really great college town, so that's another plus. And I also wanted to reflect a little bit more about my UNT field trip as well as the business symposium. Last year I wasn't able to go on the UNT field trip because I had something come up. So this was the first year I got to go on that, and I got to experience what college life was like for the first time. The first class I took was Principles of Finance, and in this class I basically just learned about the basics of finance, what all business majors have to take in college. And the second class I went to, was Consumer Behavior, and this is actually the most interesting class of the day that I went to. In this class I learned all about the psychology behind business, so basically what motivates consumers to make the decisions and choices they do. And this really interested me, and I want to explore it more in college. And then the last class I went to is Leadership, and in this class I learned how essential leadership is to succeed in the professional environment, and how important it is to work well and effectively with others. And the business symposium this year, I was really able to reflect on how far I came from last year, because last year going into that, I was really nervous and it just wasn't that good of an experience. But this year I could truly see how far I've come as an individual and how much I've grown because of ISM. And it was really cool to see that progress. And another research assessment I did was over the best business majors. And so these are the top 4 business majors. So finance is all about using those numbers to tell a story and basically deciphering what those numbers mean. And accounting is more about getting those numbers, so it's more math-based. And management information systems is sort of like the computer science and business merged together. So it's all about the technology behind business. And these days, everything is being driven towards technology. So a lot of people are advising you or business majors to at least minor in that, just so you have that idea. And then the last field is marketing, and this is all about finding creative solutions to get the product and your point out towards the consumers. And I did that last year, and that really appealed to me. So far, my mentorship with Mr. Pearson has been everything I've dreamed of in a mentorship experience. Each new visit I go in, he has a member of his team of 12 to sit down with me and basically just talk about whatever it is they're doing in that particular timeline. And in addition, every mentor visit, he sort of gives me a mini lesson on some basics of finance, so it's really cool to use those lessons to, I guess, understand what his team is talking about and helping me with. And so every mentor visit, I'm basically able to get a general idea of what's going on in the finance department of JCPenney, so that's really cool to see. And combined with last year's mentorship with Mr. Reski, combined that with this year, I've truly been able to see so much, and I'm extremely fortunate to have been through this class. So for my original work, at first I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I sort of wanted to expand upon what I learned last year in marketing. And at the same time, I wanted to use the financial skills that I have learned so far this year and apply it to my original work. And Mr. Pearson basically suggested an outline of what I do, and throughout the process, I gave him weekly updates on my progress. So for my original work, I decided to interview a local financial institution, and I chose Credit Union of Texas because I didn't really want to choose like a multinational bank or something. I wanted to choose a financial institution that was more community-based. And so I went and interviewed, so I wanted to go interview CUTX, or Credit Union of Texas, and find issues they had in whatever issues they had, and basically survey the local community and propose solutions based on that. So my first step, I went to the business development team of CUTX in their office in Dallas and interviewed 3 individuals there. And they basically told me that their major issue that they had was addressing the younger demographic, because most people, let alone most teenagers, don't know what the difference between a credit union and a bank is. And so their main problem was getting awareness to that younger demographic. And so I went home and sat down and tried to figure out and talk to Mr. Pearson, try to propose solutions in order to bring awareness to credit unions and CUTX. And then I went out and surveyed some high school and college kids and just asked them some questions, general questions about credit unions and banks and if they have an account or not. And then with those results, I came up with Dash, which is basically like a sub-branch of CUTX, but it's catered towards the younger demographic. So it's basically a banking experience, but it's really simplified for those just starting out to save. And with Dash, I had Mr. Pearson's help, and we drafted a written document. So basically what you would see in a professional environment if you were to propose something like this. And I plan to go back and present my document and findings to CUTX and get their feedback and see what they have to say. And the goal for my original work, the real-world purpose, is to basically, for Dash to be the staple of banking for the younger generation. Because it's so simple and so easy to use, I envision that every teenager can have a Dash account. And in doing this original work, I had so many steps I needed to do, so with the completion of this, I greatly improved my time management skills. And additionally, I had to go interview professionals in a professional environment, so I also improved my skills of professionalism in the process. And Mr. Pearson helped me a ton with this original work, so that just again reinforced my decision to pick him as my mentor. And I can't wait to see what the rest of the year with Mr. Pearson has in store for me. In the short 17 years that I've lived so far, it's become obvious that life is filled with many ups and downs. In order to grow as people, we must learn and improve from our mistakes. After all, failure is success if we learn from it. This year in ISM will for sure be one to remember, as it has already proven to be. And I can't wait to see all that I will learn. I know that if I stay dedicated and determined, putting in the needed hard work, I will be able to do anything. Thank you.